グリザイアの果実。
Bonjour Watcher, this is Johnny Banger 45. Welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. In the last episode, we're still in a flashback of Yumiko's
続き
roof.
からよ。
Yes, we're still in Yumiko's roof where she's talking about a flashback. Once the doctor's explanation was over, my grandmother went straight home without even stopping by to see her daughter's face. I heard her mentioning the names of business partner, so as sad as she went, she was probably planning to hurry back to the house and inform them to the news. Then the guy was exact eager to have her visit my grandma with that sort of attitude, so if anything, her quick departure was
お
convenient.
母さん、来週退院が決まったわ。
That's a lie. Dropping a pile of magazine and book onto the chair as usual, I spoke to my mother in a tone of sincere cheerfulness.
そう。じゃあ、おばあちゃんやおじいちゃんに迷惑をかけることもなくなるのね。うん。何より、こうやって由美子に来てもらわなくても大丈夫になるから、それが一番安心ね。お母さん。私、由美子にこうして負担をかけてるのが本当に申し訳なかったから。
My mother spoke those words with real remorse in her voice. But at the moment, the burden didn't seem so heavy. My mother's feelings were more than enough compensation.
カーテン開けてもらえるかしら。
Just as requested, I pulled back the curtains from the window at mom's side. A vault of blue scratches out beyond the panes of glass. It was a very picture of a summer sky. Compared to the heart of the city where the suffocating house stood, the blue in that place seems far more pure and vivid.
今日もいい天気ね。ここを出るときには一度屋上に上がって空を見てみたいわ。
Now I understand why Yumiko-Chan always go to the rooftop to watch the sky. Toshi-san told me once that my mom has always enjoyed gazing at the sky. She didn't look for anything in particular, just did her head back and watch. And when people asked her why, she could never find an answer. Memories for the day we first came to the town flashed into my mind. We walked hand in hand under a beautiful blue sky, but mother's dull, lifeless end has never left the path below our feet. But she had finally remembered the sky. That could only mean she was on her way to recovery.
そうだね。ここを出るときには一緒に空を見ようね。え、そうね。
It occurred to me that I didn't have a single memory of the two of us doing something like that together. I found myself very much looking forward to the small event that would accompany my mother's discharge from the hospital. Everything was moving in a positive direction. The stupidly optimistic scenario I had sketched out in my imagination was coming closer and closer to reality. My mother's recovery produced clear changes in my own emotions. I do barely spoken to anyone in the week since Toshi is dead, but I was slowly beginning to communicate with those around me. My grandparents still kept their distance, but if I approached them myself, my mother has a pretext, I could at least get them to have a conversation with me. Mom's recovery was their primary objective after all. They couldn't avoid hearing me out if I brought it up. Watching my grandparents interact with me despite obvious reluctance, I felt as thought I achieved a small but significant rebellion against the people who do spend years ignoring my very existence. I'm right here. I'm in an important position. More than anything else, that sense of meaning gave me strength. In school, the others still reject my very existence, but that didn't bother me much anymore. I would be returned to the Sakaki house once my mother recovered. This hollow school life would be over soon enough. Are you sure about that? Then how did you end up in that school? The end was in sight. That suffocating feeling of entrapment was gone. No matter what they said about me, no matter how they lied, it rolled me over harmless. 3 days before my mother was scheduled to leave the hospital, I was hurried to school through the rain. The drizzle that had begun a life later after midnight was just beginning to up to a shading. Every day as I left the house, my umbrella wasn't enough to catch it all. Later on that day, some shit happened. Once upon a moment, I glanced up at the angry sky beyond the edge of my umbrella. It was covered in deep black clouds from horizontal to horizontal without so much as a patch of clear sky.
お母さん、憂鬱だろうね。
Since our conversation the other day, Mama began to spend a lot of time looking out her window. That was nice and all when the weather was clear, but staring out at the menacing sky like that, I inspired a bit of gloominess just as the feeling will finally start to take out upwards. I had to run to the hospital and cheer out moms to the school. But that's how I began to walk again. And just as I reached the intersection between the road to the school and the main gate leads to the station, a familiar face appeared from around the corner. Don't tell me, father.
どうもどうも。由美子ちゃん、久しぶりだね。元気してた？
What is stupid reporter doing here?
おじさん。
He was in the face I was eager to see. I instantly recognized the temporary reporter where once frankly aiming to become a source of an article that mismatched our two with innuendos and lies. Standing under a large gap that umbrella that seems to be minor. Mirror the rain clouds above you. Look at me over with a faint smile on his face.
いやー、しばらく見ないうちに可愛くなったね。お母さん譲りかな？それともお父さんに似たのかな？
This one seems to have grown ever greasier and more presumptuous than before. When I walked past inside the village, it fell easily in the high tide. Even if I thought I do for him to follow.
ちょっと聞きたいことがあってね。またここに来るようになったんだけど、そこの喫茶店で話とか聞かせてくれないかな？
以前に言いましたよね。私はあなたにお話しするようなことは一切ありません。
そんな。君のお父さんのことじゃないか。話すことなんかたくさんあると思うんだけどな。
ありません。父とはもう何年も会っていないんです。
It was incredibly unpleasant to have the dispatch bring up that topic now. The Sakati house was there, with the invisible mess around which we all orbited. I knew my kind of lifestyle was possible only because of his financial support, but sometimes I couldn't help feeling a powerful grudge or resentment towards the father I buried. In particular, when people carelessly assume we must have some kind of relationship.
もういいですか。付きまとわないでください。変な噂を立てられるので。
Stopping me, I spread out the clearest possible rejection and quickly turned around to me. I couldn't laugh. Troubles of this sort to arise so soon before Mom was to leave the hospital. There was constantly a house speaking to this man for even the briefest moment when I come back to hunt me.
本当にそうなのかな？
The reporter no longer tried to follow call out to me from behind. His voice was suggestive. His tone unusually serious. I came to a halt despite myself.
何なんですか、一体。
Especially, I understand it would be the same either way. I know that it wasn't the cause of what would follow. But still, somewhere deep inside, I can't help believing everything would be different if only I had walked away.
そうもいかないんだよ。だってこの話、君に弟ができたってことなんだからね。
何？ What? When I turned back to face it, the man was wiping at his right damn forehead with a knowing smirk on his face.
これに載ってるよ。もっとも、由美子ちゃんが読むような雑誌じゃないけどね。
The reporter reached out and presented me with a magazine already open to a certain article. Practically grabbing it from his page, I ran my eyes practically across the page. And the moment I saw that headline, the blood in my veins seems to freeze solid. What? Nani? Did he marry another woman? Long away son born to a mistress. Both sunset headlines emphasized by sharp decorative flourishes. Below the face of man I had seen in a white line out with a portrait of his unfamiliar partner. Paragraphs full of vicious words that I could barely stand to read. At the very end, one sentence that plunged me below even despair. As I had down my ears in the hospital room weeks before, this time I doubted my eyes. Currently arranging for a divorce from his wife. What? Divorce? Those three brief words, buried in the final paragraph as if were the most trivial thing in the world, hit me with the force of the hurricane. I do heard the rumors. I more or less understood that father was that sort of person. But there was no worse way to have those suspicion confirmed. Why? Why now when my mother was recuperating in the hospital? Why now when she was finally getting better? Was this article even true? Many thoughts swirled chaotically through my head. My hands trembled and lost their hold onto the hateful piece of paper.
うわ、ちょっと落とさないでよ。これだって一応資料なんだからさ。
The magazine fell into the wet paper with a slap. Leaving the crowd, the pages had been folded back, flipped around, revealing the cover. And as if to turn the dagger in my wound, one final piece of information was revealed to me.
この雑誌
The tasteful work from well-known partner behind the number of carefully arranged headlines in a firm, steady typeface. A weekly magazine, but one that clearly distinguished itself from the tabloid and gossip range. A magazine of self-credibility. A magazine my mother asked for every week.
というわけで、ぜひこの件についてお姉ちゃんとしてコメントを聞きたいんだけど、時間を。ってちょっとおい
And she ran away. Charging off to the sidewalk that ran along the perpetual highway, I sprint out all along the farm road, slightly diagonally, away through fields of green. The fire did turn toward my school, so it's offered ever so slightly more direct route. But it was only a farm road in place. It hasn't even been paved. It was an extremely difficult course to run on a rainy day.
お母さんがこれを読んだりしたら
If mom reads that, yeah, she will die. Obviously, but I didn't have the rush over about the right, that mob right at the moment. I need to get to the hospital as soon as possible. I need to stop my mother. With the recent improvement in the condition, mom has started to leave her room and visit home store to purchase her own books and magazines. If the nurse would still delivering them to the mails, there was at least a chance they check for articles that might upset her. But it was hard to imagine the clerks in the shop would be told to do the same.
なんでどうして
Halfway there, I could no longer master the effort to keep my hammer upright over. I let the rain strike at me and focus all my attention on running. Water went flying with every heavy, stepping against my legs, soaking my skirt. The small ember of satisfaction warming my chest only minutes before I had been swallowed completely out of existence. I was close to my very core.
ちょっと廊下を走らないでください。すみません。
I wanted to barely slow after arriving at the school hospital. I understood perfectly well that running in the hallways was off limits, but the rules I always obeyed mattered less than reaching my destination even more sooner.
お母さん
Turning the corner of the telephone, I entered the waiting reserved for private rooms. A moment later, my feet came to an abruptly halt. There was something unusual going on in front of that familiar door. For a moment, I was simply bewildered. Three strange men in expensive suits were standing just outside my mother's rooms, talking to each other just on the verge of entering. A very powerful sense of dread ran through my body like a jolt of electricity.
何をしてるんですか
I shouted angrily as I approached. The man who's been reaching for the door hesitated. Before I could continue, the white-haired man at the head of the little group petted me with a question.
失礼ですが、どちら様ですか？
この病室の榊美佐子の娘です。あなたたちこそ誰なんですか？母に何のご用ですか？
Unperturbed by my fierce attitude, the white-haired man answered with a calm smile.
ああ、あなたが由美子さんですね。申し遅れました。私、榊家の顧問弁護士をしております須田と申します。
顧問弁護士。
ええ、 この度はお母様の件でちょっとお話がございまして立ち寄らせていただきました。
Chief Legal Advisor.
お母様
they're,
はいらっしゃいますか？
they're going to talk about marriage, divorce thing. Very exactly I read minutes before flashes vividly before my eyes. Currently arranging for a divorce. In a heartbeat, my mind connected those words to this lawyer's sudden arrival.
会わせません。
は？
あと父を離婚させるために来たのでしょ。今母は病気なんです。そんな話なんかしたらどうなるかわかるでしょ。
由美子さん、それは誤解です。私たちはその件ではなく今後のお二人のことについて。
Don't tell me later Yumiko killed all of those strippers with a box cutter.
嘘。さっき雑誌で見たわ。全部知ってるんだから。
The man composed face distorted into a scowl at the World's magazine. He must have been trying to reach us before the information did.
仕方ないな。おい。はい。
With a small movement of the lawyer, the two men would be hanging back, moved quickly towards me. Uh-oh. They had me physically subdued before I could even register surprise. One man had slipped behind me and caught my arms in a firm full Nelson. The other stood in front of me like a wall, eliminating any chance to escape. Shit! I screamed desperately, but they were the sort of the people to flinch at the cries of a woman, young woman. The private wing was never a busy place. Today it was entirely empty and with the heavy rain dropping down outside. I doubt anyone elsewhere in the building ever even heard my voice. And of course, against the strength of two full-grown men, there was a child like myself was completely powerless.
しばらくおとなしくしていてください。
The lawyer's voice has grown cold. It was all too familiar voice from her in the doubt.
榊美佐子さん、弁護士の津田と申します。お話があって参りました。失礼しますよ。
His words were extremely polite. If anything, that made them all the more frightening. Ignoring my tears choked plea, he pushes open the door to my mother's hospital room. I was the first to react. The bed sitting by the window, which has always been occupied before now, was empty.
不在か。まあいい。待たせてもらうこととしよう。
In contrast to the perpetually calm lawyer, I was filled with a profound sense of unease. The doctors always made their rounds at times of the day. None of her patients were allowed to move around freely, much less my mother. They giving her enormous space for the sake of camouflage, but by all rights, she belonged in a room with bars on the window. Normally, it would be unusual to move a patient only 3 days from discharge back to the hospital in the world, but my mother's condition was still delicate. Her physician had decided to handle everything cautiously until the very end. It just wasn't possible that Mom had simply stepped out at this time of day.
何ですか、あなたたちは。
The doctor has arrived for his daily rounds. For a moment, he simply stared at the bizarre scene inside a room with confusion in his eyes. Before the lawyer could stand out to offer a greeting, I yelled out from the corner where the man had deposited me.
ついさっきまでここにいたと報告を受けていたんですが、そうだろう。
He turned to the nurse at his side of confirmation, a hint of alarm in his voice.
はい、確認しましたのでそう伝えましたが。
I think she's suicide herself. The startled nurse looked around the corner as if expecting to find my mother hiding in the corner.
そんな。
It was all too much for me to process. Everything was moving forward smoothly only an hour ago, but now we were delayed, hurtling rapidly away into darkness and confusion. All of us, painstaking, were falling apart around us. I had to look for my mother. I had to keep her from finding out about the article. I had to get out of this room, away from these people. Countless thoughts stampedly wired through my head, but there was just one thing that seemed clear to me. I couldn't just sit there waiting. Before anything else, I had to find Mom. And all of a sudden, I remember rooftop.
ここを出るときには一度屋上に上がって空を見てみたいわ。
While jumping, right? The words rang out so clearly in my ears that for a moment I thought she was really there speaking to me. Pushing my way around the man with beyond me, I slipped past the doctor, dashed out into the desert hallway.
ほら、待ちなさい。
heard voices from behind. Ignore them. I didn't have any real proof, but there was nothing else for me to go on, so I had no choice but to cling to my intuition. Taking the stairs two at a time, I headed for the very top of the building. By the time I managed to struggle all the way to the rooftops, my breath was coming in quick, flash gas, and my legs were burning collapsing. I felt about ready to collapse. After I just ran from my home to the hospital and then from mom's room up to the roof with barely paused in between. But my exhaustion was the last thing on my mind. I threw myself against the door with the last of my momentum swinging a white off. Alone in the dying ground by the roar of the rainstorms, I screamed for my mother. It was coming down so hard now that haze was rising from the bare concrete. Even seeing across the rooftop was a challenge. Naturally, now given the weather, I couldn't make out any signs of human presence. But just as I muttered those words, a white shadow stared in the darkness. It was a human being, a woman dressed in a white clothes on a patient standing in the rain. When I lay on her head, I realized at once it was my mother. I slashed to her mother onto her side. She was standing back loud in the sky, backed by the powerful rain attack body. I grabbed my mom to the shoulder and showed her practically trying to catch her attention. But her eyes were fixed on her and she did so much as much. It was obvious that the guy said something was terribly wrong. Episode ends here. We're gonna continue next one. Thank you for watching my video. My video is just for fun. Don't take time, brothers and sisters. Okay? Magic word time. I just say Kamosa. It's getting worse.